Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Thank you everyone for joining us for our 15th edition of Career Ed Talks. Today we are focused on the career field of manufacturing. This includes 6 different pathways: production, manufacturing production, process development, maintenance, installation or repair, quality assurance, logistics, inventory control, and that also includes health, safety, and environmental assurance. Students can prepare for this career requires planning, managing, and performing the processing of materials into final products. So that could be anything related to that process of actually manufacturing something. I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share and show you guys this from the Department of Education. All right. So right now in high school programs across the state of Florida, there are over 6,000 enrollments in manufacturing programs. The top certifications, obviously welder, anything to do with the nurser. You can see here biotechnician assistants. And then here are your articulation pathways. This is just one example. And it can save you up to over $900 in state college tuition. And then the top high school programs, welding, which is something that we do have here in Lee County at a couple of our schools, industry biotechnology, advanced manufacturing technology, machining technology, and applied welding technology. Also things that you can get at any of our technical colleges. So check out Fort Myers Tech, Cape Coral Tech, if this is a pathway you're interested in. Here are some stats on post-secondary and employment, top programs. And then of the over 3,000 district post-secondary programs, so this would be through your technical colleges, 82% of them lead to a certification, 18% to apprenticeship. And then you can see down here that the employment outlook is a pretty decent growth rate. So about 1.5% growth. It is considered high wage. You're making over $20 an hour, and there are over 1,800 openings annually. So students, if you're still trying to figure out what you want to do, this is a good career field to look at. Doesn't require a lot of post-secondary, and you can be pretty successful in it. So this morning we are meeting with 2 local professionals. So I would like to introduce Tommy Tessner. He is the Vice President of Eurex Shutters. And then also Bill Daubmann, who is the president and founder of My Shower Door and D3 Glass. And he is also newly appointed Entrepreneur of the Year. So congratulations, Mr. Daubmann.
Thank you.
We will go ahead and start. I'm going to let each of you share a little bit about your backgrounds. So maybe where you grew up, where you went to any sort of high school, post-secondary experience, what sort of certifications you have, and how you got into this career field. So we will go ahead and start with Mr. Daubmann.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I hate boring people with stories, but I'll give you a quick rundown. I grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts, and growing up in Springfield, there wasn't a lot to do other than play sports. So I have a sports background, played baseball and golf as a young kid, got into ice hockey, became a professional hockey referee for 10 years in the American Hockey League, played junior hockey, and then went to, I did well in high school, you know, average, I'd say B plus average. I only went to a technical college for 2 years for electrical technology. I started running wiring for alarm system companies and low voltage wiring. And then I got married. My son got sick. He had cancer at 10 years old. I had to figure out what to do so I didn't have to travel as much, because I was doing low voltage wiring and refereeing professional hockey at the same time, because that was not a full-time job. We figured out to start our own business, and we started our business in our house with just my wife and myself and one of my sons. This goes way back in the 1980s. And we were doing closet organizing systems through Springfield and the Hartford, Connecticut area. And we grew that to be the #1 closet company in Massachusetts, sold it in 2003 to come down here to Florida. And when we came down to Florida, we decided not to do the closet organizing anymore and only do the shower doors. And from then we've now grown to 130 employees, 9 stores throughout Florida, and a manufacturing facility right here in Fort Myers. I don't have a college degree. I have a 2-year bachelor's degree. But the important thing for me is I was good in math and really good with personal skills. And I think those are the things that you have. And if you have a good attitude, you can get very far in life. But that's my story.
Thank you. All right, let's jump over to Tommy.
All right. Good morning, everybody. As far as my story goes, I don't know if it's quite as interesting as Bill's over there, but I'm actually originally from Germany. Me and my parents immigrated over here back in 1986, and I went to school here. I am a proud alumni of Lehigh Senior High School. And after I graduated from Lehigh, I went to Florida State University and graduated there with degrees in multinational business and business management. After that, I came here and I could, as far as my manufacturing background, I guess you could say I was kind of born into this industry. My parents started this business back in 1986. When I came back from college, I came here and started helping them out. Became the vice president of the company. I got my licensing in specialty structural and also in glazing, so I can do impact windows and glass. And I produce hurricane protection, any kinds of shutters, security protection as well. And that's what I've been doing for the past 17 years now.
Awesome, thank you. One of the questions that we always get from our students is that they want to hear a story. So they want to hear either a memorable story or a funny story or something that stands out in your mind as a really interesting experience that you've had throughout your career. So not to put you on the spot, but Bill, do you have an interesting story?
I got all sorts of stories. Some of them I can't share. Pass it on to Tommy. Let me think of one that I can share.
Man,
Okay.
Bill, you had to do that to me, huh? Well, in the 15, let's say 17 years that I've been doing this, we've gotten to work with a couple of celebrities when it comes to doing projects. So I guess that's kind of the story I would say. One of the big ones that we did was Ara Parsegian. He was the head coach of Notre Dame football for many, many years, a legendary football coach. We did a job for him on his condo. We did a job for Al Order, who was a Olympic gold medalist in the discus, I believe it was. We've worked with a lot of restaurants down here, a lot of the downtown, the Ford's group and stuff like that. Those are pretty big jobs for us. So I guess in our line of industry, that's probably the big thing that we do is just we work with some celebrities and stuff like that. So it's a pretty neat little experience.
Awesome. Bill, did you think of one?
I thought of something, yeah. It's funny, whatever career path you take, it's interesting. You talk to people in public and they say, what do you do? And I say, well, we manufacture and install heavy glass shower doors. I don't know how many people say, you actually make a living at that? I guess the point that I'm trying to make is no matter what career path you go to, you can make a living at it. You just have to be the best at it. Just really work hard to be the best and you can make a living at it. Whether it's shower doors, storm shutters, carpeting, whatever it is, just be the best at it. And there's so much business out there to be had. And I think that's probably the best story that I've learned in business. Just be good and make good relationships and you'll do well.
Thank you. Very good advice. What does a typical day look like for you? So we'll start with Bill. And I know that it might change from day to day, but what is kind of your start time? What's your end time? And what do you do in between those times? Are you mostly in the office? Are you out in the field? What does your typical day look like?
Now, I mean, we're 30 years into this, and now my typical day is coming in the office. I'm very fortunate I can bring my dog to office. I work with my wife in the same office every day, but usually start off the day either having a Zoom meeting like this or a meeting with our staff. planning things. Most of what I do is both compliance and strategical, looking to open another location somewhere, because when you have a manufacturing plant, the best thing to do is feed that plant by opening up more business. So instead of selling glass to other glass shops, we like to open up our own stores and continue growing our footprint. So strategy meetings, marketing meetings often, website design, social media. That's kind of where I've gone to on a daily basis, and then going to other social functions. Now, years ago, no, it was dealing with customers, going out in the field, making sales, but we've grown our sales team now to, we probably got 35 on staff just in sales. And I have a sales manager, so I don't have to sit on those meetings anymore. But there was a time we were starting the business, I was doing everything from installation to sales and billing. But now we have enough people and staff where I can do more strategic thinking.
Awesome. And what time do you normally come into the office? What time do you head home for the day?
Normally come in the office about 8:30 and leave around 5:30 most days. There's some days I try and sneak out or go play in a golf tournament if there's one around, but that's most days. But we generally do something on Saturday to do with the business, whether I have to go pick up supplies or check on the trucks or make sure jobs are ready for Monday morning. There's always something on Saturday. Sunday is pretty much a day off.
Nice. Thank you. Tommy, same question. What's your day-to-day look like?
Oh boy, how much time do we have on this thing? So I like to characterize my daily routine as an adventure every day. It depends on what's going on that day. We have a lot of times where we need an extra person on an installation. So I'll go out and I'll do an installation. My typical day-to-day that I'd like to have every day is I do run the interior of the company. So when it comes to receivables, payables, permitting, any of those are things that I typically handle on a day-to-day basis. But I do go out and do service if need be. If one of my guys are sick, I do fill in for them, and it's not uncommon to see me out doing an installation with my guys. So every day is an adventure.
Awesome. What time do you start your day and what time do you usually end?
Typically, I'm in the office by 6:30, 6:45 or so. And then I typically leave about 4:30, 5 o'clock. There's days where I'm later. I do typically work on Saturdays as well, just to kind of catch up on the week. And yeah, that's typically what I do.
And just so that students are aware of the differences, Bill, how many employees do you have?
As of last night, I had 126. We still need to hire about 15. So if any students are getting ready to graduate, don't have a job yet, I encourage them to reach out to us.
Yeah. And students, if you need help getting in touch with Bill, I am happy to help you. So talk to Mr. Bross and then I can put you in touch with him. Tommy, what about you? How big is your company? Because I know you guys are more on the smaller side, kind of.
We are a very small business when it comes to that. We have 15 employees right now. We have a couple installation crews, some service crews, and then we have an interior, some secretaries and stuff like that. But we are very small. Me and my dad cover most of the interior stuff. So it's, we're definitely a smaller side.
And you guys do sales as well, correct?
Do sales, manufacturing, installation, all that stuff. Yeah.
Mr. Shell's class would like to know, what are some entry-level jobs at each of your businesses, or even across the board with manufacturing? What are some entry-level jobs? What are the pay scales for that? And then what type of requirements do you need? If it is a high school student, what do they need to have before they come in? So we'll start with Bill.
Boy, I've got all sorts of entry levels, starting off with my shower door installation, but you'd never work by yourself. You're always as a team. So you always start off as a helper. We have what we call skill-based pay programs in place. So you get paid based on your skill level. You get tested on your skill level, whether you can know fractions, read a tape measure, can cut, follow directions, read instructions, understand drawings. So that's on the shower door side. Also, we have warehouse help for stocking inventory, controlling inventory levels, helping to reorder that, shipping and receiving. That's in the warehouse. So I have outside for installation, inside in the warehouse. Computer skills are pretty much a must on that because we run an SAP system, which is pretty intricate. And then in D3 glass in the manufacturing, boy, I've got everything from drivers, which you do not need a CDL driver, but you need to be able to lift some weight and carry glass around. In the shop, we have cutting, polishing, and quality control. We have order entry and accounting staff. Also looking for somebody for social media and marketing.
Awesome. And just to jump in really quickly, I see Mr. Bross has a student who Bill would like to know, do you have operations in Fort Lauderdale?
Not yet. We just opened in Boca Raton in November, and we're going to start our push down the east coast of Florida shortly. Boca Raton is not far from Fort Lauderdale. So we'll be looking at stores over there. Right now, we've got 9 stores throughout Florida, starting in South Naples, all the way up through Tampa, and then across Route 4 to Orlando. So Boca was our first one on the east coast of Florida, and we expect to get 2 or 3 more locations on the east coast.
Awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. A lot of work.
Yeah. Tommy, back to the question about entry level. What entry level positions? What's the pay scale, and what do the students need to know before they come to you?
So ours are pretty similar to Bill's. We have entry level positions in our shop as a manufacturer, as an assembler, and from there they can kind of move up into the assembly of our larger products. We cross train all of our employees. So once we have somebody in the shop, they typically will take a 6-month window in the shop to learn how to actually assemble the product so that they're familiar with all the different parts and how they actually work together. And then at that point, we move them out into the installation crew, again, also with a crew leader, so that they learn the actual installation process itself. And from there on, then they can actually go into their own crew. They get their own van, they get their own tools and everything. And then that process kind of recycles itself that we, do again at that point to get the next group going into it. So that's where our entry level is. We do have entry level in our office as well as a secretary, somebody that's answering the phones, doing filing. Those are just basic entry level.
Kelly, just to follow up, so most of our entry level starts around 16 an hour. That because they were asking about what the pay is. Installation at the highest level is at a little over 23 an hour, but it also includes some pretty significant paid time off. Yet after 2 years here, you get 3 weeks paid vacation, all at a holiday pay. We pay 50% of health care. We also have dental and eye care. I know as a young individual that may not be important to you, but boy, as you get older in life, you really need that thing. So that's good. Oh, we also have a 401k. So if we match what you put in up to a certain dollar amount, and that's based on your pay. But if you start saving at a young age, it's really nice that the company matches whatever you put in.
Thank you for that. Very good points. And I know that's something that's come up in one of our other career ed talks is, not just the dollar amount, looking at what those additional benefits are, including insurance. And I know, especially Mr. Bross's class, we've talked about how that could be up to $400 a month just for your health insurance. So, yeah. And that's on the cheap side. So it could be even more than that.
Yeah,
so if
that's a cost that's going up on constantly.
Yeah, if your business is willing to cover even part of that, that's an added benefit on top of the pay that you're making. Tommy, same question. What's your entry level pay, and then what's kind of your top pay?
So our entry level's probably around $15 to $16 to start with, and my lead guys make about $24. And we also do a nice benefit package. We do have a matching 401k program. We cover our insurance 100%. So my guys do not pay for their insurance. They don't pay for their dental and their eye insurance. That's all covered by us. And we do paid vacations as well. We typically do a week a year for them to take, and then we do paid holidays as well.
Okay. Students, anyone else have any questions? Please feel free to jump in. Mr. Bross, Mr. Shell, if you guys want to unmute and have your students ask a couple questions, now's a good time. I did have one question from Kevin to Bill. He wants to know why he hasn't been invited to golf yet.
These are ones that have been inviting me, so I can't invite somebody to come along. Kevin, when I run a tournament, I'll invite you.
Or Kevin needs to come up with a tournament.
Yeah, there you go.
What are your favorite books? Students want to know what your favorite books are that you have ever read or maybe are currently reading. Tommy, we'll start with you.
Boy, my favorite book. I'm not a huge reader, to be honest with you. My favorite book, I know in high school, the favorite book that I always read was Scarlet Letter. That was my favorite book then. I don't really have a whole lot of time to read it now. So if you're going to put me on the spot, I guess that's going to be my answer.
All right, and Bill?
Well, two of my favorite books were written by a good friend of mine because I coached his son in soccer. His name is John Katzenbach, and he's written quite a few, but Shadow Man and The Traveler are great stories. John used to be a journalist with the Miami Herald, so he grew up in Florida and he understands the crime and things that go on, but it's kind of a crime type thing. As far as business books, Art of the Deal has always been one of the top ones. Entrepreneurial Mindset is a good one. Scaling is a good one. Scaling is about growing your business and how to replicate your processes and procedures so that you don't have to be at your business every day and the business can continue to grow. So those are very good books.
Awesome, thank you. So students, you have a summer reading list now.
Hey, Kelly, Anna wants to know what's the hardest thing about transporting and installing glass?
Okay.
Make sure it doesn't break.
Well, yeah, obviously with that, safety is always a concern. So wearing your safety gear, whether it's gloves, eye protection, things like that. Fortunately, most of what we're transporting is tempered glass, which means it is a safety glass. If it breaks, it goes into a million pieces, so you don't get severely hurt, but you will get superficial cuts. But you have to watch out for scratches and chips, obviously. That's going to cost you money. So having the right equipment to handle the glass and to transport it is very, very important. And I've learned a lot of mistakes over the years, the wrong ways of transporting it. But all of our trucks are outfitted with proper materials so that we can transport multiple panels of glass without getting them scratched and chipped. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just having the right equipment and knowledge of how to handle it.
Yeah.
Another student asked for each of the guys too, have they developed anything that could be patented, that they could get a patent on? Anything in their process, in their shutter, anything with your glass, Bill, that you could get a patent on it?
Yeah, Tommy, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. We have, with our shutter systems, we have a couple of different profiles when it comes to the roll down shutters. And we developed a couple of different systems to keep those in place when they're actually going up and down. And we've been using those for probably about 20 years now, actually. But they're products that we produced about 20 years ago or developed. And a lot of the companies nowadays are calling them cutting edge when in actuality, we've had them for almost 20 years. So that would be probably the only thing that we've actually gotten to where it's something that we designed personally and made for us specifically.
Kevin, we've sent out 3 items. We have a research and development department, and we have a 3D printer. So we make prototypes of different items and check it before we go into manufacturing, because we have our own line of hardware that we use. We've applied for patents, and it gets very, very expensive. Then we made a decision not to pursue it any further after we put $15,000 on the first one, because what happens is somebody can knock it off, meaning imitate it. You have to prove damages and then have enough money to defend it. So if I invented something, started producing it, and some big boy started copying it, they could outlast me in court, and I'm just pouring money away. And then I have to somehow prove how I lost revenue because of it. And they're never going to give me their books. Even if you subpoenaed it, you're not going to get the right information. So we just figured that it would be better to be the first one to market and promote it properly and make the money and let somebody copy it later on, but you'll be way ahead of the curve. That's not to say if you don't have something that's earth shattering that you shouldn't protect it. You should whenever you could. We just made a decision that it wasn't the right move for us.
Very good points. Thank you. Mr. Bras's class did ask about the locations. I know, Bill, you've already shared kind of your locations throughout Florida. Tommy, do you want to share your location?
So we're over in Lehigh Acres. We're right off of State Road 82 and Colonial Boulevard. Our manufacturing facility, our operations facility is all in one building. So we do have a distributor up in Spring Hill, which is a little bit north of Tampa, that does installations for us. We do produce everything here for them. They come and pick it up and they install it. But our manufacturing and everything is all very local here.
Kelly, let me add, I did talk about our retail locations throughout Florida, but most of the job openings are right here off of Lico Road in Fort Myers. If anyone knows where the racetrack, gas station, and Lico Family Golf is located, so one street to the west of that, as you go towards the water, is Domestic Avenue, and we're down Domestic Avenue. So it's, you know, for most of these students, especially coming out of South, it's very close.
Right. Good point. I did want to come back around to something Bill had talked about, learning from your mistakes. And if the two of you could just kind of talk about how important mindset is when you go into a business, or, I mean, technically you're both entrepreneurs. I know, Tommy, your family started the business. So just as an entrepreneur, what's so important about your mindset and looking at it as, oh, not a failure, but an opportunity to learn from that mistake? And whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. I've always looked at any mistake that you make as a learning experience. When it becomes a pattern, then it's something different. But every installation that we do and every job that we do is different. Nothing is always ever the same. When we're dealing with windows and we're replacing windows and doors and stuff like that, you never know what you're going to get into until you start taking out the old windows. So measuring is always very critical. You always, you measure twice instead of just doing it once, because you want to make sure with windows are a very expensive part of an installation. So, and I don't know if Bill can invent it or if I have to invent it, but our glass stretcher does not work. So if a glass is too small, at that point, you're going to have to reorder it, and that's going to, cut into your bottom line. So there are mistakes. They do happen. It's just a matter of, making sure that you learn from those experiences and making sure you don't make that mistake.
Fantastic. It's all similar, Tommy. We have the same thing. I mean, if you're measuring a shower door wrong and it doesn't fit, you have to remake it. I mean, fortunately, we do have some machinery where we can cut things down, polish it. It's like what we like to say, you have to grind it. And even though it's tempered, you can still take a little bit off to make things fit. But yeah, a lot of the mistakes we made were more in the measuring side, somebody rushing a job, just not taking their time on things.
Thank you. Mr. Bras's class had a question of what forms, this is actually really good. What forms of advertisement do you feel that you get most of your sales from? So more of a marketing question. We'll start with Bill.
I can handle that one because we just had a meeting on it yesterday. Number one is Google. But when I say Google, what drives people to Google? You still have to get your name out there. I mean, right now I'm doing marketing, right? Got a logo here, logo behind me. It's all marketing. Every single day is marketing. Even on the back of the shirt, I've got our website. So if I'm standing at Starbucks getting a coffee, the people behind me can see who we are. And it's just subliminal. But helping out in the community is marketing. It's all good stuff. But Google is definitely number one. Believe it or not, the newspaper is number two. And newspaper is a dying breed, but it still brings in our clientele. Our clientele is an older clientele that grew up reading the newspaper. Social media is down the line here. But what's good about it is it's very inexpensive. You can make posts and you can flood the market with free posts. So that's good. But Google has always been number one, and it's important to try and get your rankings up in the organic search. that's a little deeper. I don't know how many of them know the difference between paid searches and organic searches in Google. But if you can get organically up into the top 3, you're in good shape.
Awesome. Tommy?
So for years and years and years, the big thing was always the yellow pages. That was where everybody needed to be. But through I would say the last 10 years or so, that's kind of gone to the wayside. So we don't really do any book advertisement anymore. Our big thing is Google. Angie's List is another big thing that we go through as well. Facebook has become more and more popular as well. So it's a lot of online marketing. That's the big thing that we go through. And probably our biggest form of advertisement is actually word of mouth. Probably 75 to 80% of our customers are referred from existing customers. So it's very important to make sure that that initial installation is done well and that you're following up with those customers, because that's where you're going to get that referral. We do a lot of business in developments where the neighbors are literally 5 feet away from each other. So when one person is going to do an installation, that neighbor next door is going to notice that that installation is going on. They're going to walk over and they're going to say, hey, what are you doing? And there's a snowball effect. A lot of times in developments, when one person does something, everybody else wants to get it done because they want to kind of keep up with the Joneses, if you want to say it that way. So that's very important. And that's probably where most of our advertisement actually comes from, is word of mouth.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question I have for you is, I had it written down. Okay. What made you choose this career? How did you kind of come into this? I know, Tommy, you grew up in it, but is this something that you always wanted to do? Did you change your mind at some point? And Bill, same question for you. How did you kind of get involved in manufacturing and get an interest into it? Whoever wants.
I'll go ahead and start. Well, like I said, I was kind of born into this. So I can remember I was about 12 years old when I kind of got my feet wet into this process. And it was literally just sitting in the shop in the summertime and just sliding little pieces together. And it's something that being my own boss was very appealing to me, and having that platform of being an established company and being able to go into that company was very appealing to me. So yeah, this is what I've done my entire life, and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy coming into work every day and helping protect people. So that's definitely the reason why I do it.
So to follow up on my story, we got into the closet business when my son got sick so that we could start the business from our home. And then builders came to us and said, man, we can't get anybody to do our shower doors, and you do such a great job with the closets, and you're probably the most responsible subcontractor we have. Can you do shower doors? And I didn't know the first thing about shower doors or glass. I only knew closet shelving, but I learned, and we connected with somebody that was selling a licensing agreement, which is similar to a franchise, but not exactly the same. So from the first 10 years in the shower door business, we were operating in a license agreement with a fellow out of Norwalk, Connecticut. And this is while I was still up north. But then we started learning a lot about the shower door business. And we also started learning about our competitors, that they didn't know that much about it either. It was just shower doors were just something that was in with most glass guys. They would do mirrors or tabletops or car windshields, but shower doors really weren't their specialty. So we really carved out a niche and really specialized in that. When we moved to Florida and we continued growing and growing, and people realized that we knew what we were doing, then we started analyzing the numbers and said, my God, we're buying an awful lot of glass from this company. And they were in Alabama. And we said, let's investigate what it would cost to invest in the machinery to make the glass. That way it's growing vertically, and it makes your company worth more. When you can make what you sell, it's a huge value. You can turn around the product quicker, you have better control of the quality, and you somewhat have control of the price, because now you're the manufacturer and you're basically buying direct. And those are the 3 hot topics that people look at: is quality, time, and price. And if you can control all 3, you're in a great position. Normally, most businesses can only control 2. and they say pick two because you can't have all three. So I think by having the manufacturing, we kind of solve that.
Good points. All right, I saw a couple questions come through the chat. Do either of you have any other dreams to start anything else in the future, either expanding on your business or starting new businesses? So we'll start with Tommy.
Expansion is definitely an option. I've always, because I handle most of the interior stuff, it's been kind of hard to delegate those things to other people. We've always had a kind of family business floor plan or blueprint. And so expansion through distributors is probably going to be something that we look at down the road. But as far as here, we like to kind of be a little bit of a smaller company because we like to deal directly with the customers from start to finish, myself and my dad. So the distribution definitely would be something that we're looking into.
Bill?
That's a great question. Whoever asked that question, that's really good, because if you are a true entrepreneur, you never stop thinking about the future and where you're going to go. Once you become stagnant, then basically you're falling behind because all your competitors are gaining territory on you. In anticipation of growth, although we have 9 of our own stores, we sold our business model to outside people in other states, and then we become a distributor to them. So for instance, there's somebody in Minnesota that owns 2 shower door locations under their own name. So it's not a franchise, but they buy all their product from us. I've got 2 in Oklahoma, 1 in Michigan, and 1 in Pennsylvania. And I'm dealing with somebody right now for Phoenix. That's one thing. Second part is I was involved with the Wolf Den at Mr. Shell's school. And I like getting involved with young entrepreneurs to help them along. So there was a student that 2 students that we are going to be investing with. One is a candle making business, and one is Youngin's Kickin' Chicken, which is Cajun chicken with a food truck. And that sounds exciting as well. But we like that. The other thing a lot of people don't know is I'm a pilot. I've got a plane and we fly out of Page Field. And oftentimes we get asked by people if we can take them here or there. And I don't have a commercial pilot, but commercial pilot's license. But if we're going on a trip or something like that, I can take somebody with me. And that's fun. And I'd like to do more of that.
When you do franchise, this is another question, student, how much of the profits go back to you as the main business? So this would be a question for you, Bill. Okay.
We're still investigating whether franchise is the right way to go for us or not, because all of a sudden this thing could blow up and the building I'm in may not be big enough to handle that. And we have to start over again. But generally speaking, franchisors get anywhere between 5 to 10% of the profits. Now we emphasize the profits. There's other ways of doing it. You can get your revenue based on a small percentage of their revenue or their gross sales. So for instance, if you sold something for $100, your profit may be $20. And then if we took 10% of that, it'd be $2. So for every 100 you sell, the franchisee or franchisor would get $2. Or you could turn around and just say it's 1% of your gross revenues. That way you don't have to worry about somebody taking an awful lot of expenses so that they don't show any profits. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. We're still not sure franchising is the right way for us. We like the affiliate layout the way we have it now, but we definitely will be investigating a franchise option.
Bill, you had talked about having an outside hobby, a passion, doing your flight. How do you incorporate your passions? And this is for both of you. What are you passionate about? And how do you incorporate your passions into your career? So Bill, we'll start with you since you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier.
Yeah, well, obviously aviation is a good way to get around, especially in Florida. I mean, if anyone's taken a car trip to Disney, you know you could be stuck on 75 or Route 4 for hours. But if you leave Page Field, you can get there in 46 minutes. If you're opening a business throughout Florida, I can get up to Jacksonville in an hour. Key West is less than an hour. You can take clients to Key West and just have a good time and talk business privately, or we can go out to Boca and be back in the same day. My son Doug runs a travel baseball team. He has practice every night, but right now he's flying a client he's probably landed already in Key West. They'll be down there discussing projects in Key West, and he'll be back here by 1:30 this afternoon. So it's a great way of getting business done and getting around the state and continuing to grow your business.
Thank you. Tommy, what are some of your passions and how do you incorporate them into the career?
All right, so one of my passions is helping others. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing. And that's kind of my business plan and model, is that I love the fact that when the storm is coming in, I give people the peace of mind that their home and their family and their investments are protected. So that's one of the huge things with me helping people out, is that I love that fact that I can say, I get calls from people after hurricanes come through and they say, thank you, you saved my home and you saved my family, and you protected us when 180, 190 mile per hour winds are bearing down on these people. They don't have to worry about running to a shelter or trying to get out of town because they're safe at that. So that's one of my big passions.
What workforce gaps do you have in your industry right now? So across the board with manufacturing, I know that you both kind of mentioned that you're trying to hire. What are the gaps right now, and how can our high school students help fill in those gaps?
Boy, like I said, from order entry through manufacturing, the high school students, as long as they're physically capable, and it doesn't matter if they're male or female, a lot of the machinery that we have in the shop has mini cranes. So a lot of the lifting is taken off the table because of the crane work. But if they can follow directions, understand math, simple math, some geometry helps a lot in reading drawings and understanding what a panel of glass should look like when it's done. If they're really good on computers and they're good at programming, we have CNC machines and water jets that require an office job of programming layouts. These are gaps that we have now, because as you grow the business, you just need more and more people. And as you give people paid time off and they take vacations, we need somebody to fill that gap also. When Tommy said he's got his people cross-trained, we try and do the same thing so that we can fill the gaps when somebody's sick, or when COVID hit and people were out in quarantine for 2 weeks, we had somebody that could fill into that spot. So that's very, very important. So I'm just looking for somebody with a good attitude, is dedicated, loyal, shows up on time, ready to work. That's all we ask. We'll teach you most of it.
Tommy, same question.
Yeah, we're very similar. Our industry has changed in the past 20 years or so, in the sense that 20 years ago, a lot of our product was very light. It was just an extruded aluminum foam filled, very thin aluminum. So the material itself wasn't very heavy. In the past 20 years, our material has gotten significantly heavier. So the age of our employees has gone down with that, because we need to be able to lift product. It's not uncommon for us to have 250, 300 pound products. So we need to have people that are able to lift that. So we typically, our installers are in their 20s and 30s. So we typically try to get them when they're in their early 20s or even out of high school, so that we can train them properly at that point, so that they're able to do the lifting. But as Bill said, the big thing is making sure that people are coming in on time every day with a positive attitude. We deal with customers face to face on a daily basis. So looking presentable, being courteous, and making sure that your language is appropriate. Those are things that we require from our installers. So, but yeah, very similar to what Bill said.
All right, next question. And we have about 15 minutes left. So students, if you have any last minute questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat. My question that I'll ask before we switch to the students is there anything neat, any new technology, something that's really cool coming that you guys can see in your field coming within the next, 5-10 years? What do you think is going to be up and coming in the next few years?
So I'll go ahead and start with our industry. The big thing that's going on now is home automation with a lot of our products, making our shutters motorized and being able to use your cell phone to operate those, and sitting, if you're up north, you can literally go onto your phone now and you can operate all of your shutters up and down. So if a storm's coming, you can go ahead and run them down even though you're not actually physically home. Another big thing that we're looking into is solar products as well. With hurricanes and power outages that we have down here, we're looking into using solar products to actually operate a lot of our shutter systems. So again, if you have a storm coming in, power gets knocked out, you can still actually use a solar backup to be able to use the product.
Awesome.
So
Bill?
in the glass industry, there's a few things going down the road. We just placed a purchase order for a very large machine where it's called an autoclave. Kind of looks like a submarine or a very large pill. We can put large sheets of glass in there, multiple layers of glass, and you put a thin layer of plastic in between it, and the autoclave fills up with pressure and squeezes it tight, gets the air bubbles out. But what that does is if the glass breaks, it sticks together, almost like the windshield of your car. It's laminated glass. But having the ability to do that, we can now put a electrified panel in between the two layers of glass, so that if it was clear glass and if I was in a meeting room and I wanted privacy, you simply flip a switch and it turns to an obscure privacy glass. Now you can take that same technology, put a computer screen in there, and technically you could be showering and you could control the music in your house. You could watch TV through that screen. You can see who's at the front door. So that's one thing that's coming, and we'll be able to do that right here. The second thing is with that machine, we'll be able to make what they call ballistic, or what's otherwise known as bulletproof glass, where you can do multiple layers of glass. And as you know, all public buildings and schools are going to be requiring that under new construction. And that's going to give us a heads up on anybody around here in the glass industry, because no one has that machinery that can make that glass. So those are two big deals that are coming down the future.
Exciting. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I'll give students one last chance to put those in. What are some personality qualities that fit well in manufacturing? So if a student's not really sure what they're interested in, but they know what their strengths are with their personalities, what lends well to manufacturing?
Well, I think manufacturing is very, very, I want to say regimented, because it's a process. Everything has to be done according to the process. So if they can follow instructions, listen to their boss, and do things the proper way, the reason there's processes is, number one, safety, make sure everybody stays safe, and then to turn out a quality product. Even a company like McDonald's, you're going to go to a McDonald's here, it's going to be the same in Colonial or Fowler or anywhere else. They have a process and they're all done the same way. So we want to make sure that the glass comes out of here is done properly and you follow the process. So that all that means is having the right attitude, not doing a job just to get it done, but to be able to feel pride in what you do and see the final outcome. We take an awful lot of pictures on the shower door side to show the end result. And the guys in manufacturing get a kick to see out of the piece of glass that they made where it looks in the houses. So it's really kind of fun, but we have a great team to work with. And that's the other thing in manufacturing. You're with these same guys day in and day out for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. You're probably with them more than you are with your family. So it's a good camaraderie. So you have to have teamwork, listen to your coach or your boss, have fun while you're doing it, but get the job done.
Points. Tommy, what do you think? What types of personalities work well in this field?
Yeah, I think the big thing is organization, being organized and having, because what in our industry you're going to either be in the shop or you're going to be on a truck. So if you're on a truck as an installer, being organized is huge, because what's going to happen is you're going to go to your truck and you're going to need the specific tool to do a certain part of this job. You're going to want to know where that tool is, because It's the matter of a difference of you getting that tool right away, or you spending 30, 45 minutes trying to find that tool. That's going to eat into the bottom line of the actual job, because instead of you installing, you're sitting there looking for things. Same thing in our office as well, and in the shop. When you're building something, if you have an organizational way of doing things and you show, okay, this is where this, and this goes, at that point, then it's very regimented and you can do things in order, and it just it becomes more cost effective for everybody. And people don't realize that if you become more cost effective, the company makes more money, and at that point that goes into your pockets as well. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that if you're not doing your job properly, it's going to affect you in the long run, because at that point then the company is losing money as well.
Kelly, I'll feed off that organization, and then Tommy makes a great point. When I was up north, we used to hire firefighters to be our installers, because their schedule was great. They had so much time off in between their shifts. And what I learned from them is that they all drove the ambulance, and the ambulances there, no matter which one they had to get in to drive, they were all organized the same way. Every bin had the same thing, no matter what truck you were in, it was in the same location. Because if you're at a medical emergency and you needed to get gauze, you don't want to stumble around and try and find it. So every single one of our trucks, and we've got 13 trucks that go out here every single day, the bins are set up identically. Everything is the same. So that if a truck has to go in for service, for repair, or somebody called out sick and you're in somebody else's truck, you know where everything is. And man, that saves time. And the customers like it. They follow you out to the truck and they look in your truck to see what kind of an organized company you run. It's very, very important.
Thank you. All right, students, last chance. If you want to come off mute, you can ask your last question. If not, then I will wrap it up.
Kelly, let me give you my email address. I know Mr. Shell has given it to his class, but if anyone wants it or thinks of a question later and wants to send an email, just jot it down. If I didn't tell you, you'd probably guess it anyhow. It's bill@myshowerdoor.com. So that's pretty easy.
Thank you. And Mr. Bross did say that he has a student who is interested in getting some contact information for that job in Boca. So I will get you in contact with him.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the very last question I have to wrap it all up is, what is a piece of advice that you would give yourself if you could go back and talk to your high school self? So if you could go back in time to your 16 or 17-year-old self, what would you tell that person from what you've learned throughout your life now?
You want me to start?
Go for
Sure.
it.
I'll go ahead and start. Okay. So what I would personally tell my 16-year-old self, or even 18-year-old self, is focus on getting yourself established early in a career, whether it be going to college or actually doing a career. All the fun stuff, the partying and all that crazy stuff, that can wait till a little bit later. If you set yourself up in your 20s, you can enjoy your 30s, 40s, and 50s. As opposite would be, you enjoy your 20s and then you're trying to catch up in your 30s and 40s. So that would be my advice, is take those first years serious, where you can get established in a company or in your career, and it'll pay off in the long run for you.
Good advice. Bill?
One of the biggest things that we found during our interviews with people are the skills that they need were communication skills, communicative skills, relationship building, and then negotiation skills. But fine-tuning your relationship skills, I think, is very important. That'll follow you through your whole life, whether it's in business or any personal matters. Making friends with people, remembering names, knowing how to respectfully communicate with them. I mean, that's a lifelong trait that you need to have, whether it's business or not. But anybody that I've ever dealt with, I've always dealt with respectfully, and boy, it comes back to help you a long run. Sometimes you may not be the cheapest person for a job, but people have a comfort level where they still rather do business with you because they know that you're the quality person that they want to do business with. I think that's the really important thing in high school, is because you could make a mistake now and that's going to taint you a long time. So always look in the mirror and say, how do you want people to see me? How do you want them to respect me? Because when they do, they're going to want to purchase from you and do business with you. I think it's really important.
Thank you. Very, very good points. Well, thank you to both of our speakers. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Tommy. Just to close it out, I'm going to do one last screen share. And this is the flyer for our Career Ed Talks. This was episode 15. In 2 weeks on May 19th, we will have our 16th episode, which is our next to last one for the year. That is marketing, sales, and service. So that will be coming up in 2 weeks, same day, same time, Wednesday at 9 a.m., same Zoom link. So feel free, students and teachers, to join us then to talk about marketing, sales, and service. So thank you all so much, and happy Cinco de Mayo. Have a great Wednesday.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Tommy, nice to meet
Thank you, everybody.
You too.